ॐ ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सविदुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम् ॐ श्री गङ्गणपतये नमः Namaste, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, and welcome to another edition of Dharma Samvad. Today, we have two topics that will be of interest to everyone, and it has been in social media in the last few weeks and has played up to quite an emotion. And what do we speak about? Well, recently, India celebrated its 72nd Republic Day. And why is that important to us here in South Africa? Well, India's quest for its independence has always been the subject of democracies around the world, South Africa being no exception. But this year was slightly different. This year, we had to examine this COVID-19 pandemic in its highest form. And India once again displayed its regalia, its armory, its beautiful traditions in the Republic Day program, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, taking into account all the PPEs and the protocols that come with it. If anything, the Republic of India has displayed the utmost care during the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. So, with us today in studio, we have two guests that are going to share their thoughts on Republic Day, but more specifically, the COVID-19 vaccine that India had given South Africa. We'll talk more about that in a while. Another topic that was very hot on social media and still continues to plague the minds of South Africans, especially Indian South Africans. And it's showing a range of issues of confusion, fear, and also people feeling disrespected, etc. But it all centers around one thing. And what is that? Symbolism, iconography, and things that hold people dear in their hearts as religious South Africans. And I suppose religious people globally. So today in studio, we have the president of the World Hindu Foundation, Pravesh Hardin, who's going to speak a little bit about that in a while. And I would just like to go to our technical team to please put up a PowerPoint slide because I just want to raise some few issues that we can attest ourselves to in the last few weeks and remind ourselves about what the important things that drew our attention to the world. If anything, it was the 72nd Republic Day of India. India showed its glamorous, soldiers, and the parade was absolutely exceptional. And I must say, from my personal point of view, I was there in 2019, and it was absolutely incredible with thousands of people gathered together to actually watch with pride the different regiments of the army, the navy, the air force, as well as wonderful float processions that held important images that matter to the psyche and the mind of the Indian. And I think it's important for this type of reflection because India isn't just concerned about India as a country, it's concerned about the world and the welfare of the world as well. Let's go to slide 2. As I've mentioned, this year it was very different. This year, India gave a gift of life to the world. And South Africa was one of the recipients of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to South Africa from India. This is enabling South Africa to combat the COVID-19 pandemic that has so plagued our lives over the last over 300 days of lockdown that the country has been subject to. But more importantly, the number of deaths that has risen in this part of the subcontinent. So India has given South Africa a gift, and it has also given countries like Brazil as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that with our very special guest in the studio, Mr. Amit More from the Indian Association of South Africa. But next up, third slide, please. We note that particular rainy day in Johannesburg, where our President Cyril Ramaphosa greeted in Namaste, a symbol to the team from India, as well as the team, the South African diplomatic corps that gathered at the airport with the arrival of the consignment of the vaccine. And it was a deeply symbolic photo because we believe that this photo symbolizes the strength and relationship between the two countries. However, there was quite a lot of media and social media activity. The next slide, please. It showed that perhaps there might have been some kind of gratitude that was not really there, and it could have been articulated in a far more profound way. Some people, took to the media to say, "Oh, there should have been much more thanks," etc. But India, being India, and coming through its history, its vast history of social oppression, etc., took it in her stride. And there was a wonderful communication that existed between, and still exists between the Prime Minister of India and the President of South Africa, where the President conveyed his profound gratitude expressed by the people of South Africa to India for its solidarity with South Africa in fighting the pandemic. And it was important to note that there's wonderful communication that exists between the two countries. And of course, as we know, one of the organizations in South Africa that bridges the gap between India and South Africa is the Indian Association of South Africa. And, they were able to submit wonderful posts in social media to thank the Prime Minister of India. Next slide, please. Religious symbols have often been a subject of debate and discussion over decades. Religious symbols, as I've said earlier, touch the heart and mind and the core of a human being wherever they are. We've seen in recent months what symbols can do in Western civilizations where people may not understand the depth of what religious symbols indicate to different faiths, whether it's Islam or Christianity, and even Hinduism. But recently, there's been a very difficult situation that has happened, and in fact, it is ongoing, and it is the preservation of or an understanding of the symbol of Gomata or Goseva, which is the principle of the protection of the cow in Hindu thought and philosophy. So we ask the question, what do scriptures say today, and why is it that this has led to such a situation of debate in the country? And what can we do as Hindus in the country to enlighten the broader community, but also enlighten our own community as well? Thank you, Tech. Thank you very much for the slides. So I would like to now first start with a subject that is an important one between South Africa and India, and that is the Republic Day program that took place earlier in the year. And just to get a little bit of insight into the 72nd Republic Day, India celebrates it with absolute pomp, and it's something that is actually incomparable to any country in the world. And for them to actually get the thousands of people seated in that particular way, following all the protocols, I believe is a mammoth task, and it's absolutely magnificent. Amit More, welcome to the studio. Namaste.
Namaste everyone and to the team of Dharm Samvad.
Thank you very much for joining us today. So, Amitji, you are from the Indian Association of South Africa, and you've an organization that recently thanked the government of India for this very critical shipment of the 1 million doses of the Oxford University AstraZeneca vaccine, which was, produced in the Serum Institute of India. And we were so proud
Yes.
on the day in which it arrived in this country, but it also coincided with the Republic Day celebrations in India. So perhaps for our listeners and viewers who may not be afraid with the celebrations of Republic Day, perhaps you can share with us the significance of Republic Day in Bharat.
Yeah, no, sure. First of all, I want to inform you that the Republic Day was celebrated on 26 Jan 1950 when the Constitution of India came into the effect. This is one of the lengthiest constitution written in English and Hindi by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and his team. The first Republic Day parade was held on this day, and since it has been a ritual every year. This is a celebration of becoming an independent republic with a democratic government system. This is the day when Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, paramilitary and civil forces march in this parade from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate along with their bands, giving salutes to the president under whom this entire parade is precised. Every year, there is a representative from one country as a chief guest for this Republic Day celebration. And if you remember, we were fortunate to be part of it when our president, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, was chief guest in 2019. And this year, Boris Johnson, PM of UK, was supposed to be the chief guest of this parade. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, he has to cancel his trip. Then there is another significance of this day, which starts giving the tributes to the martyrs who have sacrificed their lives for the nation and to confer bravery awards to the military persons, citizens, and children showing bravery. Even the Indian High Commissions, embassies, and consulate throughout the world also celebrate Republic Day at their venue in the morning, where the tricolor is hoisted in the presence of Indian citizens and invited guests. The message given by our president is shared by the Indian consulate or Indian embassy to the present attendees, along with the cultural and patriotic event. This is the way we as NRI stay connected with Mother India and remember the importance of our independence, which came through sacrifices and struggle.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that summary. Every year there's a theme, and each year, the government of India is at pains to celebrate its symbols, its richness, its uniqueness, to the country. And I think one thing that stood out for me, aside from the military prowess and the army, and and especially even women joining the Air Force, etc., for me it was absolutely phenomenal. You also had the floats, that was quite remarkable. And one symbol for me that stood out was the Ram Janmabhoomi, model. What are your thoughts on that, Amiji?
Yeah, Ramayana is not only celebrated in India, it is celebrated in many parts of the world. Like you go Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. There are many countries those who actually believe in Rama and Ramayana. Even you take our neighbor Nepal, and then if you see, the Prime Minister of Nepal, he speaks about Ramayana very beautifully, even in his normal interview. So Lord Rama and Ramayana is part of many countries and people. So it's not only about India, but it's pride for the entire world, and it has given a very beautiful message to the entire world and the Hindus, even those who are not Hindus, like certain Islamic nation also. They actually believe in Ramayana, and when the children are born, they actually read the Ramayana. So this is really a beautiful message from India to the entire world about the history and Lord Rama.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I think the values and morals in scripture become important and they actually transcending so that people who hear them can imbibe those lessons, for all time to come. And in that spirit of giving, in that spirit of selflessness, India brought to the world the COVID-19 vaccine. Can you give us a little bit of the context of how the shipment actually came to come to South Africa, and what was the spirit and the ethos of India in that whole process for it to come to South Africa? We would love to hear a little bit of the context.
Sure. Actually, there are various countries, those who are manufacturing this COVID vaccine. In that, India has already approved AstraZeneca, Oxford, and Bharat Biotech's vaccine. And India, being the largest hub of pharma industry in the world, shares 20% of generic medicines exports and shares, which is the approx 20 billion worth, and has 70% generic drugs revenue share and 21% patented drugs revenue share. Also, as per confirmed available data, India is the largest vaccine producer in the world, and currently it's valued $41 billion industry, and it will grow to $61 billion industry by 2024. So, as per the Indian diplomacy tweet, 60% of the global vaccine production comes from India. India produces supply of 1.5 billion doses annually to more than 150 countries. That is a very large amount. India is the largest supplier of the DPT and BCG and measles vaccine globally. WHO sources 70% of its essential immunization vaccines from India, and the list is very big. It goes on. But the important factor is this proves that India is one of the best key role player in the current situation of vaccine, and in that the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine has given excellent result till now. This is the main reason why it has been chosen to deliver to South Africa. Also, the important question how and why SA or South Africa, and the answer is very simple, that India and South Africa has longest political and also a friendly relationship due to Mahatma Gandhi ji, and also there is a largest Indian diaspora staying in South Africa, which also gives a very personal touch between the two nations, and that can be the reason why India has prioritized South Africa. And this also shows the strong diplomatic ties between both nations. The diplomats, they have really worked very hard behind the scenes to get these vaccines. That's what I can say to you.
Absolutely. And I think it was phenomenal work in terms of understanding the rate of infection in the country as well as in the, in the continent as well. And also globally, because this pandemic has, taken over so many people's lives. There's so much of sorrow, there's so much of pain that people are going through at the moment. And it becomes like a beacon of light, for all of us. What I'd like to find out, though, is that your organization was actually one of the first organizations that expressed its thanks, in social media, in a little clip, as well as in wonderful posts, and of course others followed. But there was some, kind of misunderstanding. Can you perhaps clarify, what could have happened for people to have not given sufficient credit to India for this? And I'd like to pose this question as well to Praveshji just now, but perhaps you could first enlighten us.
Sure. You see, this vaccine is for the frontline workers in South Africa who are risking their lives for us. So India does not expect any thank you from anyone or any individual. It believes that entire world is a one family, but still various organizations and individuals did say thank you, and we were just one of them. And later on, Modi ji and Ramaphosa also had a detailed discussion on this issue, where our President Ramaphosa also said thank you. But I just want to give you some statistics that from January 2021 onwards, 5.6 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been sent as a gift to the neighboring countries, which includes Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Bahrain, and Oman. These supplies were based on the request from the respective capitals. And then there was also commercial export, which took place to Brazil, Morocco, Bangladesh, and South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, Kuwait, and UAE. Further, as a part of GAVI and COVAX alliance, India would further supply 10 million doses to Africa and 1 million to the UN health workers. Further vaccines are also scheduled to reach Caribbean countries, Pacific island states, um, then Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Mongolia, and the list goes on. And this is as per the MEA spokesperson, Sri Anurag Srivastavji. So it's not mandatory to say thank you, because India doesn't believe in all this. India believes we all are one family, world is one family, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. But still, a lot of nations have said thank you, because it is a priority. There are many countries which are in the queue to get these vaccines. It's not easy to get that vaccines so quickly. And if you see, Brazil has said thank you by showing Lord Hanumanji carrying a Sanjeevani. So they have
Absolutely.
given that importance of Sanjeevani. So it's important, like if you feel, you can say thank you, and the head of nation has said it. So there will be a lot of elements, those who will criticize or be negative, but we have to be positive and keep the relations stronger.
Absolutely. And I think that's so wise. And I think it's important for people to transcend this, because what India has displayed is that it's concern, and it shows its spirit of support to the rest of the world. It is a concern for humanity. And as you so rightly said, that in the Vedic scriptures, it isn't just about one religion or dharma or one country, but it is for the welfare of the world. So, there's always a famous saying that I often quote, Kranvanto Vishwamaryam, that has ennobilized the world. Let's ensure that the world is enriched and enlightened. And that has always been the principle of Bharat Mata. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, no, I agree with you, because that is our culture, our tradition, and even in South Africa and Africa, we believe in Ubuntu. So when people were commenting negatively, they were even forget the South African culture or African culture. That I exist because of you. We all are part of this world. We all are brothers and sisters. Every nation somehow is connected with someone, and we all are children of Lord. And that's the philosophy of India, and that's why we call it Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So I 100% agree with you.
Absolutely. So, and thank you so much. I just wanted, and the next question is more focused around, the pandemic in South Africa. Just, some thoughts on that, because we know the first shipment arrived in this country, and there is supposed to be another one. But at this point in time, the statistics is quite high, although there seems to be some level of decrease. But provinces like KZN is suffering quite considerably. Can you share with us, what the latest stats are, and what is it that we should be doing and still be doing as a country?
Yeah, sure. Actually, not only as a South Africa, but in entire world, there are currently 106 million active cases. Then there are 59 million recoveries into that, and also 2.31 million is a death rate. And if you see the stats of South Africa, there are 1.473 million active cases, and we have already seen more than 46,000 deaths, and 1.34 million people have recovered. The new vaccine will surely help to control the stat, but still I feel that people have to follow the protocols. People you have seen, like maybe when president has lifted some of the rules and regulations, you can see people are in large number outs, and then also in restaurants, and they are crowding. Actually, they are not following the social distancing. Actually, that can cause a problem again, and maybe the casualties will increase. So people have to take precautions, although the vaccine is arrived.
Absolutely. And there's been some stalwart work by Hindu South Africans recently. Can you share an example of what has happened where, some of the frontline workers themselves have come into the open and, and really have committed to helping the country to such an extent that they're not even worried about charging people the fees for treatment, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's been a case now recently with the Durban doctor. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure about her name, but I have read her interview. I don't remember the name now, but it was a very fantastic gesture from her, and everyone was praising. And I think we should follow in this time of pandemic because humanity is first, and doctors are like a god to the people in this time. And personally, I have also experienced like many doctors in the Indian community, those who are Hindu doctors, they are also treating their patients free. And I know one of the case myself personally where that has happened. And when I inquired that time, that doctor was treating more than 38 patients, free of cost. And then obviously there are so many incident whenever as an organization, we give call to any of our Hindu doctors. They have done immediate arrangements for the patients, those who are suffering and those who cannot cope at home, even with the oxygen. So I think the frontline workers and doctors are really playing very big role, especially the Hindu doctors in KZN, what I have seen.
Excellent. And her name is Dr. Deveshni Govender, by the way, and very young. And I think
Yes,
it's
correct.
important,
Yes.
it actually shares that the level of conscious awareness of what is happening around us has impacted the frontline workers to such an extent that it's like, we just got to do this, we've got to do it now, and we've got to get everyone on board to support, this type of initiative. And we salute them. We really do, and we take, we actually must pay humble, obeisance to all of them for such magnanimous work. Thank you, Amiji, and thank you for joining us today. We still have you in studio because we want some comments on the next subject, which is has been quite a heated one as well in the media. Up next is Pravesh Hardin. As I said, he's the chairperson of the World Hindu Foundation. And recently in the media, there's been a flurry of activity around religious symbols and the denigration of some of the symbols, that people use for entrepreneurial activity, or in some cases, completely have a contradiction in terms of such symbols. Praveshji, welcome to the show. Namaste.
Namaskar to everybody. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. So, just as a way of introduction, we've seen recently the case of a restaurant in Johannesburg selling beef while having the symbol of a cow decorated in a traditional Hindu manner with the application of a tilak. And your organization, together with others, has taken up this issue. Can you share a little bit of the context? And then I want to talk a little bit more about the symbol of Gaumata.
Thank you, everybody, for this. Just before I speak about specifically with regards to this, when we speak about symbols, all of life is symbolic. The very fact that we may circumvent a structure is an example of symbolism. The fact that a country will hoist its flag is a symbolism. So every act of ours is symbolic in nature. Every symbol things. We do our necessary rituals, but we add to that in our life. We have symbolic, and we can count a number of them that are symbolic in nature. Where the problem comes in is the freedom of speech, for example. Now, what's the difference between normal rituals that happen and other forms of ritual? And I'm now speaking specifically about religious forms of symbolism. When people, for example, go beyond the boundaries of that. Now, yes, we can have a cow and people are having beef, etc., and that is what people do. But in certain countries and certain cultures, it is revered to a large extent, and I'll explain later the meaning, the symbol, the purpose of Gau Mata, etc. But then, when you add specific Hindu symbols or practices to that, and we know we put a tilak because of the reverence of it, etc. It now goes beyond the point of respect. The person is now no longer respecting, because this comes into a particular context, which we know now affects Hindu sentiments. That's the bottom line. Sentiments of somebody. One will not want to go into another religious place of another religion and do completely something opposite of what you're supposed to do. Surely you will hurt the sentiments of that person. So any person, any human being should know the boundaries. We should know. With the freedom of speech comes the freedom of responsibility. And on many occasions in the Equality Court in South Africa and on many other platforms, it has been so clear, this idea about hatred, hate. You stepping on hatred, you're promoting hatred, and that is not acceptable. One needs to be very sensitive to these things. So unfortunately, in the name of freedom of speech, etc., people are stepping beyond the boundaries and in the process hurting the sentiments of other people. So if we speak about the human beings, etc., living in a society, then we should think also about the feelings of others before we do those things. Yashikaji. Your mic is off, Yashikaji.
Sorry, namaste. I apologize. I think it's absolutely essential what you've just said. The constitution of the country guarantees the freedom to practice one's religion and one's belief, and it actually and also guarantees the freedom of expression in defense of those. Like in the case of the the caricatures, for example, in Islam, etc., etc. There's honor and respect accorded to the understanding of a particular faith's philosophy, etc. It's similar like that in Hinduism or in any other religion. So what we have found is that a particular restaurant had created the opportunity to say, this is the name of the restaurant. It had the symbol of the cow as well as the tilak, as you rightly say, and then went forward to actually denigrate not just the symbol, but also the type of offering that the restaurant was catering towards, and special foods, for example, that is seen to be part of an ethos within the fold of Hindu Dharma was also reflected. So, what is your take on the philosophy of Gaumata, as well as uh, foods that are generally regarded as prayer offerings, such as rots?
Okay, so quickly, in this instance about those restaurants, I believe that certain statements were made by the respective person in respecting such a thing as Gau Mata. But it was ironic that on the flip side of it, the eating of beef in conjunction with the tilak, I mean, any logical person can say that common sense will tell you that that is now in contradictory in terms. So, utter disrespect in that sense. If they had a picture of a cow, it had no connection to a Hindu dharma, it would have been a different situation altogether. Again, with rot as well, it's a very, very sensitive and very important part of Hindu culture. To bring it so close in the context of all this issue is certainly showing a deep disrespect and also, unfortunately, hurting again Hindu sentiment. So people should certainly be a bit more sensitive in that. So let's move on to the significance of Gau Mata. I think we want to speak. I am not going to speak in high philosophical terms. I think many non-Hindus and even Hindus would like to understand a few basic things about our life. If we reflect on global warming, when we reflect on carbon footprints, we are hearing by scientists in the more recent years how rearing of animals, etc., is contributing greatly towards carbon footprints in so many respects. So that is one effect of such a type of behavior of people. Now, when we as Hindus say offering of food, you know, ideally Hindus should be able to when they offer their food, it is actually saying that this food is not mine. It is from this earth, the that has given us all these bountiful things. I offer it back to God, and then I have it consume it. We don't want to greedily just gouge everything into our body. For sure, we want to take care of this earth, and by taking care of the earth, we are saying the the Supreme Lord that this belongs to you. I respectfully take it from you and have it for myself to sustain my body. So, in actual fact, that is the offering of when we say offering of food. It's because we should have respect. It's because we do not have the respect and we've disconnected ourselves with this earth that we are facing so much of calamities. It's nothing but logical. It's when we say karma, it's nothing but what you put out there is what you get back. So when we think about, for example, Gau Mata, now we know many animals produce a whole lot of stuff in our life. Many animals produce. But there's one particular animal that provides so much in so many forms is the cow or Gau Mata. Of course, milk we have today. And respectfully, we should have the milk. We should not taunt the animal to take the milk out because now we're having on veganism, that's a debate will come. And then we can have cheese out of that. The urine of the Gau Mata is so important in terms of medicine and cleansing. But people who see things in compartmental, will say that is urine and actually use their own narrow thinking and equate it to the normal human urine. In fact, I think the cow urine is much more pure than human urine because the cow only has grass. And of course, one can talk about the dung that comes out for producing of fire, etc., and so many other aspects. Now, when you had to take this to another level, and I saw there was a lovely, beautiful picture about the Gau Mata, that takes you at a different level to understand it. It's hard for many people to come to understand the role of the Gau Mata in our life. But my point, what I am saying is, human beings, and I think this COVID lockdown last month has suddenly shocked us to connect directly with nature. I think many of us have suddenly found the need to look more closely to nature and get a lot of sustenance, get a lot of peace out of this nature. If there's anything this lockdown has, some of the effects was the fact that we were able to see a butterfly more clearly, that we were able to hear the sounds of birds, that the beautiful green trees, the flowers that come out look more better to us now, and the beautiful sky than ever before. So perhaps one lesson we're going to learn in this entire thing is the fact that, hey, we are not separate from this earth. This earth is part of us, and we are part of this earth, and we've got to take care of this earth, and which we have not been taking care. Hence, we find where we are in today's world. And just the Gau Mata, etc., is an example of how Hindus revere this particular animal. And in fact, we should revere all animals. In fact, we should revere all animals. We should not put them to pain and do other things that that people are doing. Yashika ji.
Absolutely. I think it's a very important point. And I think what we have lacked is the lack of education in every particular way. And I'm so glad that you raised the idea of, the butter, the milk, the ghee, etc. Everything that comes from the cow is absolutely pure and pristine. And in fact, even as you said with the urine, it's made, into Ayurvedic medication, etc., in order to heal the rest of society. So given the scientific nature of just the cow and the value in which she has served and continues to serve society, that should actually be some dawning of logic for our attackers and those that have been quick to ridicule the situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it brings me back to the point that unfortunately, when we grow up, we each grow up in different compartments. Some religions believe that there is this way and there's no other way you should look, and this is the method you should go. This is step 1, 2, 3 to 10 steps. Other religions perhaps think there are 5 steps, and that's the only thing there to go. So when we are either indoctrinated, when the propaganda is so strong that there is no area for you to think any otherwise, then naturally you're going to grow up with those types of views. And the people that are most influential in you are your parents. And then and we say Mata, Pita, Guru, Devam. Then our God, and then our teacher. So in our formative years, in our impressionable years, if these people are going to tell you that this is the way and there is no other way, and this is the way you think, and this is the only way you're going to be saved, and this is the only thing that's going to lead you to liberation, then it will be very, very hard for those same individuals to start thinking divergently as they grow up. In Hindu Dharma, our very important principles are in place. You have the freedom to introspect and self-realize. Now, there's no boundaries about self-realizing. How do you self-realize yourself in this world to become the best and the most valuable? That is ultimately what Hindu Dharma is about. How do you, and the values of peace, and peace is just not for you and your community, peace for the entire world. Shanti Path is a good example of peace for the entire world. So when we speak about the role and certain broad principles of Hindu Dharma, we do not believe in tolerance. Some religions, etc., talk, I will tolerate you, and I use as an example. If your neighbor is an alcoholic, you will tolerate him until you can't hold on anymore, and you'll slap him. We are saying we'll have to respect that neighbor for whatever he is, and in whatever way, try to see what you can do with the neighbor to help, not wait until you can slap him. So when we speak about, I know there's always a debate about secularism, etc. But I believe that in Hindu Dharma, the principles and the values are universal, not worldly. They are universal. It applies to everybody, and it provides this opportunity for us to explore, to even question and inquire about our Dharma, inquire about things that you don't answer. We do not prevent one from asking questions of different nature, provided we engage in a civilized method and exchange ideas and thoughts. Yashikaji.
Absolutely. And I think that becomes critical. It's the conversational points in allowing people to express themselves fully and completely without censure. I think for too long, this situation has allowed the Hindu community to become a part of a rebuttal, and also they've had to concede to secularist mentalities. And I think it's high time that the Hindu community stands up for and take ownership of its pride and its symbols in whatever form that it comes in. It starts with education first. It also starts with following the discipline. I've recently communicated with some devotees of the Hare Krishna movement as well, and the reverence in which we have the Gaushalyas in South Africa, the Gau Seva, is phenomenal. And I would like every South African to actually visit the Gaushalya and understand the depth of reverence, the emotional connect, the cognitive connection that a human being has with the cow, and understand the value in terms of what the cow does for society and for the rest of of humanity. To then understand this type of relationship that exists there. There's been a
can I just
question.
chip in?
Yes,
Can I
sure.
just chip in on that point quickly? We're speaking about us educating ourselves and educating others so that we can understand. Sometimes people don't want to understand. They do not want to accept it. That's a starting point. You already come with the idea that I'm not going to accept it no matter what you say. So unfortunately, the person is still going to have that view. But I just want to tell you that for the last 5 years, and Yashikaji has been involved with interfaith. We have been involved with interfaith with Muslim and Christians and Baha'i and Jewish and African traditional religions. We meet every month, the interfaith bodies, and very interesting topics come. The last one that happened in January was one of the most phenomenal, where we really debated some very core aspects where between Hindus and Muslims. And I tell you, the beauty of it was that each of us knew our boundaries about how to exchange ideas and thoughts. Question every single bit without getting hot under the collar. Because I believe that if we do not do it in this way, then we're going to follow all the religious bigots out there and unfortunately continue this narrow-minded ways of looking at the other and thinking differently. So these interfaith platforms that happen every month, I really think it plays a very significant role in each of us understanding, because what happens is these religious leaders from the Islamic faith and the Christian faith and the Baha'i and the Jewish go back to their congregate, and in their ways are also informing them of other religions and what it is. So I think it's a very important platform. Those people who are interested in engaging like that, they are welcome on board, because I believe it will be a healthy platform to exchange such sensitive ideas, but in a very civilized way. Thank you, Yashikaji.
Thank you, Praveshji. And I think it's important. It's a very critical point. I think the leadership in the country has to recognize what is happening in the media right now and actually stand up to engage and learn about each other in a far more cohesive way. So that's the only way we can build a cohesive society. But I'm still saying there are problems that are existing, and I'm still saying that the difficulty is that unfortunately you live in a society where it's about economics and that rules and also you have a media that is very very secular in its approach. It may not be as tolerant and understanding as what we would like for that to be. There's a question that has just come from Facebook, to say where there's been a survey in this instance where I think over 3,500 South Africans have signed a petition around this particular restaurant. And I think it's important for us to reflect that suddenly there's been a surge in activity for people to say, hang on, let me start considering exactly what has been happening. It's not just a group of people that are talking about this issue. But it's rather pointing to something that is happening around us that is far deeper. And I think it becomes a critical point. Amitji, from your perspective, are you still in studio? Is Amit More here, Tech? Thank you.
Yes, he is there.
Yeah, thank you, Amitji. I think you've been hearing and you've been following what has been happening in social media. You've seen first the survey that has come from this young group of people that have decided to take it upon themselves to stand up, for Gau Mata. What is your impression about what has happened, and also about the sudden turn of events where people get labeled because they are defending their faith? Amitji, can you hear me? Is there a technical problem? All right, let me go to Pravesh in the meantime. So, Pravesh, I think while Amitji is getting his, technical connection right, I mean, he's from an organization called the Indian Association of South Africa. They've been foremost, with the COVID issue that, and also thanking the government of India for the vaccines that has come. It's a separate issue. But I think they've also recognized that there's a change now that is happening in society, that perhaps the Hindu has been, sleeping for a while. They've not been able to stand up and say, but hang on, you're actually standing on my toes and you're actually going deeper than where you are. Are you finding, Pravesh, that the secularists, and I'll just have to put that in brackets, are actually testing the so-called tolerant Hindu? Perhaps the tolerant Hindu doesn't want to get themselves in trouble, or rather be subject to any form of media attention. But do you find that there is now a change in the thinking of Hindus in general?
Okay, Yashikaji, I want to disagree when you say that the Hindus are sleeping and they're getting up. I think some of us have been involved with Hindu work now for over 30 years. At least in this generation of ours. And a good number of us have been very active for those years. So to say that we are sleeping, no, I think there has always been issues over the last 30 years. Many of may not have known, but we know the number of issues that have come up, and we have responded, and many others have also responded in this way. Yeah. Many others have responded. The difference now is social media. Because social media is so accessible, many people know what's going on everywhere. When 30 years ago, we didn't have this. What we did 30 years, all of people who perhaps are listening do not know about the issues with the Christian denigrating us in Phoenix with the pastor Naika, I remember very clearly, and incidents in Chatsworth and various places. There were so many incidents with for IPCI as well. So there were many incidents where Hindus have reacted. So and I think now the difference is social media has brought the issue right into the bedroom or to the lounge or whatever, or those other Hindus who suddenly became aware of it. And that is what they're doing now. They're acting out from there. And remember the other thing about our Hindu youth today. I think also social media has also given them the opportunity to explore Hindu Dharma by the click of a button. Previously, that was not possible because our parents, well, we didn't have that luxury. Now, at the tap of a button, you are able to get a whole lot of stuff right at the fingertip. So, with that in mind, our Hindus and Hindus in particular are responding to such type of things. I think also, it touches the core of what they feel about it, and they themselves can see very clearly that this is stepping the line. Yes, we have freedom of religion. We all of us have that. Very good. We can do that. But dare they do that to any other religions? I think sometimes you are perhaps right to one extent is that they think that perhaps Hindus are soft targets, that they could do this to that. And the thing is that with us, I think is that because Hinduism is so colorful in so many ways, it's so colorful, it lends itself for people to take advantage and to target the various symbols, the countless of symbols which describe our beautiful and dharma of ours. Whereas other religions are they are more more restrictive in their symbolism, etc. So there's less chance of people denigrating, although they have done it, as you rightfully said. But also the responses from other religions are quite violent in sometimes. And when the Hindu is almost going to do the same thing, they're considering him to be a fundamentalist, etc. All he's doing is he's simply trying to put right what people are wronging him. So that's simply what they're doing, especially if you heard Hindu sentiments. So we do not want to promote any form of violence. And I say that again and again. We want to be inclusive and bringing everybody on a platform that we can communicate and understand each other.
I think that's I think that's excellent, Praveshri. That's very important. And I think that's what's critical right now, because there's some comments that's just coming from social media to say every time a Hindu tries to defend himself, he's seen as a fanatic. And I'm glad you raised these examples that has happened over the years. It may not have been known completely, but at least it's now coming into the spaces. Dhiren Narse is saying we are labeled as Hindu fanatics and have divisive agendas, whereas it's putting right what is wrong. And thank you for your point to say that Hindus are awakening now. They've not necessarily been asleep, but they've rather not been too aware, except now with social media actually in their homes, in their lounges, where they're standing up. Yes, very good. And I think that's important because they're standing up for what they believe in. And there's another comment from Shravan Kumar Singh who says, don't back down. Even though we may feel outnumbered or outvoiced, it's important for us to state our case. What do you think of that comment?
Well, if the point is the truth, why should we ever think anywhere else? If it's the truth, why should we think anything else? There's no reason for us, whether we are in a company or whether we are alone. It is the truth. So we can stand. Truth itself will stand on its own. So no other argument about that issue. Thank you, Shivan Kumar.
Yes, there's another comment from social media. One of the things that went on with this particular case, it wasn't just the denigration of Kamdenu, which was so pivotal to the psyche and mind of a Hindu, but there was also a Sanskrit, there was a way she depicted herself as a Hindu goddess holding on several items from the restaurant with her hands, and I mean it's. Please, can you explain this from the Upanishads, where you have the Hindu goddess with the several hands, and what does it actually mean in symbolism?
Yeah, that is a famous one. These are the famous one that people will pick on, and take advantage of it. I would think, is it out of ignorance? Can they be that ignorant? But then to play with it. They're not ignorant to play with it, but they ignore. And could it be out of sheer, is the reason sheer hatred, dislike, or poking fun? What would it be? If it's those reasons, then sad to say that such individuals are spending a lot of time on such negativity and such, what's the word? Again, almost bordering on evilness. I mean, why do that? What's the purpose? Are you trying to educate us? If you want to educate, yes. But if you do it with that intention, then the purpose of it is nullified. The Hindu Dharma, if one has to understand its philosophy, just give a briefly, because I don't want to go into a heavy philosophy at this point in time. To understand this whole thing about 33 million gods, I mean, if I just say 33 million gods, you will think there are 33 million gods, etc., etc., etc. Our dharma, if you have to understand it, I mean, it's literally mind-boggling, because it's just not a set of 10 rules, etc., that everybody must follow. This is the beauty of this dharma. When we say the ultimate reason for us to self-realize, and each of us meditate and go within ourselves to bring out this potential in us, there's no rules about that this is what you will self-realize. It goes into a phenomenal change of consciousness. That's the level that Hindu Dharma takes you. It takes you to a level of consciousness that's unbelievable. It's literally, and to use the word, mind-boggling. So when our great saints depicted the different aspects of life to try to make us understand this consciousness, they did it in these descriptive ways of hands, etc. Now, it doesn't mean that there are 10 hands. It is the quality of the nature of the self that lends itself to be able to accomplish such things. To just use a very, very lame example of multitasking. We say women multitask, right? And I don't know why they say men can't multitask, but the credit goes to women who are they can do so many. And you see that out there. For some reason or the other, our respected women can do so many things beyond thing. I'm not saying that's exactly the same thing, but it is an indication of the capability of humankind to do such many things, to express themselves in so many ways, in so many forms, in aspects of life. We need to open our minds to realize that when we discover ourselves, we come to realize that we are just not this mind body, that we are just not this physical form, that we are a higher level of consciousness, energy, and vibration. So we need to think very, very seriously when it comes to this kind of thing. Let's move and raise our level of consciousness. When we understand that, we step up ourselves. When we understand, we step up and we raise our levels of understanding and consciousness. That's very important thing in the world. We are lacking that very, very big time.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry we're running out of time, but thank you very, very much for all your comments and contributions, and to Amitji as well on a wonderful bumper pack of today to enlighten our viewers. And also, let's shift consciousness and let's shift it now. So Hindus, we are proud of you to stand up to what has often been termed as fundamental, but it isn't fundamental. It's fundamental to truth. So speak truth to power. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us today. Namaste. I am going to end with the prayer, I think, because Panditji is not here. So it will be Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirghamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste.